There's been a lot that's happened with Toys for Bob in really the past few months now. About 7 months ago in October, Activision Blizzard was officially bought out by Microsoft, which meant that Toys for Bob was owned by Microsoft because at the time Toys for Bob was owned by Activision. But Microsoft's ownership of this sub-studio of Activision, it really did not take very long for that to basically expire because 4 months later Toys for Bob would announce that they were going independent. Activision no longer owned them, they could finally do whatever they wanted, and that was met with a lot of positive feedback from a lot of fans. Because hey, Toys for Bob really is a great game studio. I've talked about them a ton. I really like them because they're kind of a jack of all trades. They've actually been around since 1989, but really most recently what they are known for is a mix between working heavily on recent Call of Duty titles and doing very good work on them, and on a total flip side, working on these very fun, colorful, very critically acclaimed platformers. I am talking about the Crash Bandicoot trilogy and the Spyro trilogy remakes that we got back in 2018, and even the new Crash Bandicoot 4 game that we got in 2020. Those were super critically acclaimed, a lot of people loved them. So yeah, just a very well-respected company. Now the last two projects they have worked on and completed were Crash Team Rumble, that was a multiplayer game that didn't do so well, and they also did work on the very recent Call of Duty, which was Modern Warfare 3. Since then, obviously a lot has happened. Like I said, they're now independent. So the big question is, hey, what are they going to be doing now? There has been a lot of speculation about this, but just yesterday, people started noticing that if you go to their website, what was once a page that had obviously just a lot of content that they offer, it's now just a blank screen with what looks like a purple tiki mask. That's literally it. I promise that's all it is. If you don't believe me, just go to toysforbob.com. You can't click on the picture. You can't really do anything. So obviously this mysterious purple tiki mask is very much a hint or a tease in some sort of way of what the company plans to do in the future. The first thing I thought of, and I'm seeing that a lot of people thought this as well, is that if you take a purple tiki mask, that kind of combines their two biggest IPs, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, because Crash Bandicoot has Aku Aku, obviously. That's the talking tiki mask guy in that game. And then, of course, Spyro the Dragon is purple, so if you combine the two, purple tiki mask makes sense. Now, Toys for Bob no longer owns Crash and Spyro. They don't technically have anything to do with these IPs because that is now owned by just Activision, so just Microsoft. So you might be thinking, well, that's a weird tease. Why would they be teasing working on a Crash or Spyro game? Well, they still could be working on one because they have heavily hinted that they are still working on deals with Microsoft, so Microsoft is still going to be working with them. In other words, Toys for Bob broke up with Activision, but they're still friends with benefits. So yeah, maybe Microsoft is contracting Toys for Bob to work on some sort of Crash or Spyro game. I think it would be kind of cool to have some sort of a hybrid Crash Bandicoot and Spyro game. We've had like little crossovers between Crash and Spyro here and there over the years. If you remember, like way back 20 years ago, you had Spyro Orange and Crash Purple on, I think, the Game Boy Advance. But like, there's never been an actual full-fledged, crossover game between the two. So maybe this purple tiki mask is signaling something like this. Now, another theory just says, hey, maybe this is just going to be their rebranded logo going forward because it does combine the two elements of two games that they have worked on that people love. Now, I do think that would make sense, but at the same time, I don't think that would be enough to shut their whole website down just to post this ominous picture. No, I don't think a rebrand would, do something as big as that. I think there's something more going on. So it could be a Crash and or Spyro game, or it could be a brand new IP. I know Toys for Bob has also talked about how they are actively working on a brand new IP, and that's really all we know about that. They mentioned that, I think, a couple months ago, so who knows if that brand new IP is actually in like the development stage right now where they would be teasing it and about to announce it, so who knows. I think whether it's a new Crash or Spyro game, or if it's just a brand new IP from Toys for Bob, I'm all on board because I love Toys for Bob. Everybody loves them. I can't wait to see what they do now that they are independent. It's nice to now see some sort of movement, even though it is just a tease. It's nice to get something from them. People are talking about how there are a few summer games shows coming up, so maybe this is just a tease before the big reveal of whatever it is sometime this summer.